Hello, everybody. Welcome to it's been a while. It's been a bit.
Well, the summer's over.
Summer's over.
We're in the kind of a down period of movies.
Yeah, during the fall, the early fall, before the actual holidays.
Before November hits and everything else comes out this year.
So, man, movies. John Wick.
We're the NOLAnerdcast.
John Wick.
I'm Chris.
Nola.
Stop that.
I'm Matt.
I'm Chris.
And this is our movie review of John Wick.
John Wick. You know, the first time I heard of John Wick
was
when I was reading Twitter. It's like, do you like the intensity of hashtag Gotham? You're going to love hashtag John Wick.
The first time I heard of it was when people were like, this is Keanu Reeves' best movie since Matrix. I was like, that's a lofty claim and also kind of sad because that movie was over a decade ago.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh,
actually, almost 15 years ago, 99. And if this is Keanu Reeves' best movie, like, what does that say about his career post-Matrix?
It means he made a ton of cash and does not have to do anything.
You know what? I'm glad because that quote sparked my interest. I was actually kind of really enjoying the fact that I went into this movie completely cold and knew nothing about it.
I didn't see any trailers for this.
Yeah, not a one. It's like that new movie Nightcrawler that I also want to see just because I know nothing about it. And it looks good. But you know what? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about John Wick. And let me tell you the exact moment I knew I would love this movie.
What is that?
Is that when you realize when the titular character gets his car stolen and his dog killed. Spoiler, happens early. That's the catalyst of the movie. It's not. Apparently it's in the trailer, so I don't feel too bad about that.
Yeah, that's the first thing Andy said when I told him I saw John Wick.
Yeah, so when that happens, and then the main bad guy goes, I'm sorry, you stole the car from who?
Yeah.
You dumbass. You're like, who did he steal the car from? John Wick? And he just goes, oh. And we just laughed because we're like, that's the best way to set up a character. When you have this clearly, like, king of crime, Russian, like, crime boss, and he hears the guy's name and he just goes, oh. And you're like, oh, shit's about to get good.
Yeah. You know what I liked about John Wick is that John Wick was a force of nature.
Yes.
And they treated him like everyone
like the name commanded respect and fear.
Like his son is like, what's so great about John Wick? He's like, John Wick built our empire on the bones of our enemies.
John Wick murdered 3 people in a bar with a pencil.
He got out because he completed an impossible task.
I gave him a job no one should do or could do, and he did it. So I let him live. And then on the day he buried his wife, you steal his car and murder his dog. You fool.
It's one of the great action movie tropes when they do something wrong and you're like,
oh no. You know what?
That was unwise.
I hadn't felt that way since we watched The Protector, and we're like, why would you mess with his elephants?
He obviously loves his elephant. Why would you steal it?
You fool!
It's like,
so this movie comes out, and I went in not knowing what to expect, and then all of a sudden, it's like the perfect introduction to this character. You don't need an exposition-filled backstory.
His backstory is filled in by everyone's reaction to him.
Yes. They hear his name, their facial expression changes. And then the first time you see him in action, when they try and invade his home and kill him at night, and you're like, oh, I'm in for a treat. Yeah. Because, and this is what I love. Is because this is a man that we've been led to believe is a stone-cold killer, the best hitman the gang families have ever come across. And so every move he does is clean, and he executes every kill. And it's the first time I can ever remember in a movie where he double taps every body and makes sure there's a headshot no matter how many times he's put him down. Like, it's not like, oh, I knocked you out, on to the next one, I left you wounded. No, every single opponent is put down with a vengeance. And he leaves nothing to chance. Like, the whole time watching him, like, you get the feeling that this is a professional, and he acts like it.
And another interesting thing is, on the surface, this is a pure revenge movie. It's very much like The Punisher. But then you dig a little deeper, and you get this very interesting story about the society of hitmen and assassins
Yeah.
that run on a gold coin-based currency
love it.
and have a special hotel
Like a code of ethics, like honor among thieves
where
type of thing.
where everyone can go, and
It's a neutral ground.
it's a neutral territory, and there are severe consequences for messing with that.
Yeah, and I kind of love that when they're like, we need John Wick down, double the bounty for anyone willing to break the rules
Yeah,
of
and
the Cadillac Club.
And the Continental.
Continental.
And I love, there's a scene at the end where someone broke the code, and they get a reckoning, and I love it.
Okay, so...
Also, the guys that clean up bodies.
Yes, like just the whole ecosystem and how they're like, I have a dinner reservation for 11, and you're like, oh, that's so cool.
He said that, I was like, that's weird. It's like 3 a.m. and then the cleaners come up with their like big burly guys, and he hands them a wad full of gold coins. It's like, well,
the whole ecosystem of their crime lords and everything was so cool, and just the way they built this world up with very little like in your face exposition.
Mm-hmm.
They showed rather than tell.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. And then the last thing I'll talk about before we switch gears to the casting and the actors was I also liked it because we've been showing this man as a force of nature and he's a badass, but he's not invincible. This isn't an 80s action movie where he's dodging every bullet. He gets injured, but what makes him even more badass is how he takes these injuries in a realistic way, shrugs them off in another realistic way, and keeps on going. Yeah. And you can just see people's like,
especially there's a scene where he fights Adrian Palicki,
mm-hmm.
and she goes right for his recently stitched abs.
Yeah.
And you can just see blood like pouring out of it as she just punches into it.
And Keanu Reeves as John Wick just like nails it. Like he I don't know, it's hard to explain, but he carries himself as his character in a way that shows you that he's not shrugging off his injuries.
In professional wrestling, it's called selling your injuries.
Yeah.
And he sells his injuries.
He sold it hard.
So good.
All right, let's switch gears to acting. Because Keanu Reeves, I mean, he's never really been a great range actor.
He is Keanu Reeves.
He's Keanu Reeves.
He is fine.
He's perfect as John Wick because John Wick as a character doesn't have too much to say, and so
his fists do the talking.
Right, but Keanu Reeves like kind of like delivery, the way he delivers lines works in that regard to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like another film where you need a lot of range of motion. He's a very short-spoken man, and then when he does talk and that rage comes in, you're like, shit's about to go down, son.
Yeah.
And then the guy who played the dad, the crime boss, Michael Nyqvist.
Yeah, Nyqvist.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything before.
He seems very familiar, but I honestly could not place him if we had to.
There we go. He played in the actual foreign girl with the dragon tattoo trilogy.
Oh,
that's why I haven't seen him.
Was he Michael Blomkvist?
I'm looking now. Yep.
Okay.
Yes, he was.
That makes perfect sense.
Yes, it does. All right. But then you have William Dafoe as a fellow. William Dafoe and Adrian Palicki, who's really blowing up right now between John Wick and starring on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., coming from being like, guess what, you're not in the Wonder Woman show, to...
Oh, and being part of G.I. Joe, too.
Yeah. She's come out, and so her and William Dafoe play fellow, like, hitmen. And they have very different relations with John Wick. And I thought William Dafoe's was very intriguing. Because for the longest time, I was like, what are we doing with this character? And then it all comes full circle, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe is very, very good. Adrian Palicki, she did very well with what she was given, which wasn't, honestly, a ton.
No. But here's the other two casting choices, and I never clicked on me until you told me who it was.
Yeah.
But Alfie Allen from Game of Thrones as the dick son who started the warpath.
Oh, everything went bad when Theon Greyjoy tried to steal a car.
God, it's just never good. And also my personal favorite was out of nowhere, Mayhem from the Allstate commercials. Showing up.
Yeah.
Other people might know him from 30 Rock, but he'll always be Mayhem.
As the
SVU.
As the scumbag lawyer.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed John Leguizamo's 10 5 minutes.
But he's the one that set up the whole, this is John Wick. Like, he was the first person to sell you on why this character was...
like, where did you get that car?
Yeah, he sees the car, and he's like, apparently that's the iconic John Wick car. And like, where'd you get that car? Get the fuck out of my shop. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
That's real bad.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really well cast with a lot of fun character actors.
That scene where he like slaps the kid, he's like, you can't do that. My dad owns you. He's like, fuck you, get out. Like, you're just like, this is a man who the fear of him trumps the fear of pissing off a crime law board.
And then that leads into the trail line where the dad's like, why did you strike my son? He's like,
yeah,
he stole John Wick's car
and killed his dog. He's like,
click. That I mean, honestly, if this was a Punisher movie, this would probably be like the best Punisher movie.
Yeah, like it's like the Punisher's out. He's out, guys. He's retired. Why would you bring him in, you stupid fool?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's great.
And I mean, there's really not else to talk about the movie because there's not too much to say.
It is a radical movie,
and it wasn't a movie that was relied a lot on special effects.
A lot of practical effects.
A lot of just badass gunplay and whatnot, and just
rolling jujitsu holds.
A lot of groundwork.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, in terms of just everything else, you know, we've never really been the cinematography was top notch type of people.
I thought it looked fine.
Yeah,
I mean,
we more rate based on is it enjoyable? Because I feel a vast majority of people care more about is a movie fun rather than is it shot well.
Yeah,
at least in my perspective, I've never cared about that.
I agree.
We're the working man's reviewers.
Let me put it like this: when I review a movie, it's like art in a comic book. If it's great, beautiful.
Yeah.
If it's bad, I'm gonna know.
It's more noticeable when something's bad. When it's good, it's like when 3D is used effectively.
Yeah.
You just don't even notice it's there. It enhances it. But when 3D is bad,
yeah,
it blinds you.
It's extra credit.
Yeah. So stuff like that.
Is there anything you didn't like about John Wick? Pause.
I'm thinking.
I don't really have a lot of issues. I mean, John Wick is. I
thought the side characters could have gotten some more like fleshing out, but I mean that's nitpicking at this point.
I mean, I think the thing with John Wick is you know an action revenge movie in the style of Taken.
See
and Crank.
I'm gonna put it up there with Taken in the sense that. It's such a perfectly like pure action movie. It's not bogged down with the romantic subplot. Yeah. It is a very driven and focused movie. And so I'm worried that if it's successful, we're going to get a John Wick 2 where he comes back out of retirement.
Well, the good news is Keanu Reeves doesn't just take sequels for no reason. So I was explaining it like this earlier. This is the scale of Taken to Crank. John Wick is closer to the Taken scale of things.
Okay, I thought you were comparing like Taken and Crank together.
No,
that's an interesting.
They are both action revenge movies, but they are both on different planes.
Okay,
and John Wick is way closer to the Taken point.
Gotcha.
If there's any complaints, they're minimal.
Yeah.
I mean, John Wick is not going to win Academy Awards, but it's awesome.
Yeah, it's like it's easy to compare to Taken. Because it's that pure revenge-filled action flick that kind of comes out of nowhere and just is like, yeah, watch this movie. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, have you noticed her white shirts and how we match? Because we are just killing it.
God, you're a monster.
Hashtag Fashion Week.
Hashtag Deep Fees.
Okay. All right, anyway. Let's wrap this up.
Okay, review rate it.
9.
9.
Will buy. Really?
Wait, no.
Okay.
I was
you were just echoing my sentiments.
I was repeating what you said, but I did not mean
9 and will buy.
I will give it an 8, and I will buy when it's cheaper.
See, because this, again, it's going to be like Taken, where it's going to be like, oh, you want an action movie? We got Taken, we've got The Raid, and we've got Dread, and we've got John Wick.
You know what will make it an automatic first day buy? Kill counter.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. I'm Matt.
I'm Chris.
And we're the NOLAnerds, and we're rolling out the John Wick review.
November.
Check us back, because November's here.
We got Interstellar. We got Hunger Games. We got...
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler. We got others.
Dumb and Dumber 2.
You have Dumb and Dumber 2.
I'm gonna make him watch it. I don't even want to see it. I just want to make him watch it.
I'm not seeing it.
Okay. Bye, guys.
I will die first.